Hello everyone, this is part 2 of the sketchbook collage demo. In the last video I showed how I glued my papers down. Some of them ended up being completed projects in the first video, so this little collage here I was quite happy with the finished piece, and this one here, this page, actually I was quite happy with the finished results. I didn't want to work into this one too much, there was quite a lot going on and I was happy with the composition, so I'm just going to leave that one as it is. But sometimes the pages, when you glue them down, they're not quite working, or they just need a bit more something. So when that happens, I usually add more elements such as these stencils. I'll use stencils in my work, and I'll add hand-drawn elements, or I'll add detail, sort of pull out details with coloured pencils. So in this video I'm going to show you all of these techniques as to how I got this finished page. So if you just want to follow along, and I will be speaking in this one. I tried not speaking in the last one, and the overall consensus was that we want to hear you speaking. So I will be blethering the whole way through it. Okay, so let's get started. I think it needs something stronger here. That stencil is not working that well, so I'm going to go over the top of it with a lighter colour with a stronger shape. So I've just turned the sponge around and dipped it in a bit of the turquoise and the gold, just to sort of blend it out a little bit like an ombre. It's just trial and error. Yeah, that pops more, and you've got a little bit of the gold leaf coming behind there. Try a bit here as well. So the spider's not giving up. He's just want to be on YouTube, aren't you? I'm gonna squish you by accident. That works well. So underneath here is a little bit one of my tree stencils. So that's sort of, you know, with the leaves and the tree, it's all working together. So if you're using stencils on your designs, try to use stencils that are harmonious with your overall theme. So you wouldn't want to put, for instance, like a graphic African design element on top of a botanical piece, because they're just going to jar against each other with the imagery. But because these are sort of all in the same family, they're working well together. Just a tiny bit coming in at the top here. To show you the plate. So what I'm doing is just taking a bit of the white, I'm just dabbing it at the side so that I'm not just going in with a big blob like that, because that's just going to get in between and underneath the lines. So you just want a very small amount. So I usually dab it off first. Here a second, you can see it. Just this area, I don't want too much of it, just a little bit coming in on the corner here. So I tend to have things in threes in a piece so your eye moves around nicely. And you'll see I'm moving the page around as well, so it should really work from any angle you're looking at it. I think the other reason when I was trying the white pen earlier it wasn't working is because this fabric, this paper here is the Chinese rice paper, which pen doesn't work that well on top. This is more like a sort of like a fabric, I think. When you feel it, it feels a bit like a fabric. It just doesn't seem to take as well. It kind of bleeds a little bit. I've got a bit to show you what I mean. A white pen. See, it's just kind of sinking in where that is sitting on the surface. So I think that's where we were going wrong. When I was trying to draw over, normally I would get a nice sharp line, but because that's a soft feel, I don't know what it is, it's just absorbing the pen. See the difference there? So that's what's great about these sketchbooks, that I think, well, perhaps I wouldn't use that paper in a finished painting that I want to do line work on top of, because I know it's not going to work now, but that I wouldn't have known that unless I'd had a play in here, you know, or I would have maybe done it with a finished painting and then just the overall painting wouldn't have worked because of that element that was in it. So that's what's really good about these little practice pieces, that you learn what works and also what doesn't. So let's have a look what else I can do. Got another leaf one here which is a different shape, so I don't really like this area here. I want to kind of cover it up a bit. Try see if a stencil will work on top of there. So you notice I didn't actually put any more paint on this side, but I've still got paint in it, but it's just a soft green just to sort of blend out that edge. I don't want it to look too harshly like it is a stencil, you know. Probably going over this a bit more than I usually would, but because it is that paper, I think it's going to need that, or it's just going to get lost. There we go. A little tiny bit here. Although I quite liked the lines initially when I glued that down, because it was, as I say, I quite like graphic elements. I don't know if it's really adding to the piece. So I might try to cover that up. Not sure how. I might take some of that blue, sort of Prussian blue, and paint it in here, and maybe try and pull that leaf out a bit. I'm always looking at the lights and the darks. I'm trying to create contrast in my paintings. So by putting the dark behind that light, it makes it pop out a little bit more, not look quite so lost in the background. But with it being pencil, I'm not completely losing the under layer. There's that little bit about the pig on there. So you can see it took me a little while to get sort of into the flow and sort of connect with the piece again, I guess. You've just got to give yourself a chance. Sometimes even if you say, look, I'm going to come into the studio for 10 minutes, just do something, and then, you know, that'll just sort of spark just doing the next wee bit and the next wee bit, and then you just, before you know it, a couple of hours is gone and you've just got yourself in the creative flow. And what's good about filming it like this is that I have my phone on airplane mode, I can't answer any calls, can't check my Instagram, so I am completely in the zone when I'm doing this. So by filming it's actually quite good, because I have to disconnect from the social network, which can be, you know, it's what's enabled me to have a business doing this, but it takes over your life if you're not careful. I said in my last newsletter, I've started plugging my phone in downstairs before I go to bed and taking a book, and I haven't read a book in literally a couple of years. I've been listening to audiobooks, but actually physically reading a book, just get out of the habit. So I'm trying to push myself to read again. Just to switch off from technology So I think, you know, having a project like this where it's in a sketchbook, it's not going to be for sale. You know, there's no real outcome to it other than play and experiment, learning techniques, seeing what works, what doesn't. So as you can see, I'm sort of moving around the page. So I started there and then I think, oh, I could do a bit over here, and just sort of mirroring it as I go around. Filling out these leaf shapes. That perhaps didn't show up because that's a light background. I was putting white on top of a white, so that's not going to show up as well. There's somebody asking me about my nails. Actually, they do go really well with this page. It's a lady I go to. It's Nails by Edita. She doesn't want any more customers because she stayed out the door, but what she did was blended two colours together. So pink and blue, blue and green, green and yellow, yellow, purple, orange and pink. And that was done with an ombre, so she sort of blended it in the middle. So there was somebody on Instagram today asking me about my nails. So kind of got the idea with the way that I blend two with a stencil. I just wanted to have a sort of similar look. So you'll notice that when you are trying to work out what your colour palette is, if you look in your wardrobe, you'll start seeing that you tend to go for certain colours, or your mugs in your house, or if you buy a vase, what colour do you go for? So when you're thinking of colour palettes for your paintings, quite often just colours that you're drawn to. And when I love it when I do the workshops, because especially the last one, if you watched the video, it was so obvious by what everybody was wearing and their finished pieces. They were just looked identical to what they were wearing. Got a little tiny sort of sharpen. So again, just blending this blue into the colours that are already there. Pencils are water soluble, so you can take your water and darken the colour with the water to sort of define it a bit more. I just felt those lines were a bit too strong, so I'm just lifting them away a little bit just to soften them. So the baby wipe is as much a tool in my kit as anything really. I use it a lot for pulling back, and I'm just using it as another tool for drawing really. You see me use my fingers a lot when I'm sort of putting base layers and things down. Oh. I like to have some really dark areas. I'm just sort of deepening that blue there. Now this line here is bugging me, so I'm just going to try and soften that a bit. Blend it into the sort of olivey green there. That wasn't really apparent until I put the water on it that it was olive. I don't mind it. So that's kind of softened that harsh line there, I think. So the same with here, I would quite like to sort of pull these letters out a bit. I'm going to try just sort of defining that shape here. So you're just working with what you've got, just embellishing and pulling things out just to make them stronger or more focal. I just want to add some more linear parts now. I'm coming in with a gold pen, seems to be working okay on top of this sort of Chinese paper. Probably because it's got some layers of paint on it now, it's a bit more plasticky. Let me try it on that little sample bit. So that's it with the paint. Yeah, so you can see it, but not quite as strong. So I'm just drawing freehand here, just kind of doodling lines and leaves. Filling in these little spaces that are kind of needing something. Could go back over my sort of define some of these little flower shapes. These again. Hello. I'm going to move you. He's determined. Get. Right, stay over there. If you've got rough edges like that, you can take a nail file and just give it a rub with a nail file just to take this paper rough bits off. Do that at the end. Now, painting wouldn't be finished without a few dots. So I've gone from something that was a bit meh to something I'm quite happy with. So that's the way it works. You just kind of have to keep going. And sometimes the ones with the layers on the background that are not as pleasing end up being the better ones, because you've just got little bits of the background coming through, and that works better. So that's page just about done. So I hope that's helped give you some ideas on how to start your, or what to do with your jelly prints. A lot of people say, well, what do you do with them once you print them? So this is one way to use them, to create a finished design in a little book, to spend a couple hours just relaxing, switching off from the world and all the stuff that's going on around us, getting a break from everything. So there's only a few days left on my 30% off offer on my botanical jelly printing course on my encaustic treasures. So if you're interested in signing up for that one, if you just head over to my website, you don't need a code, you just need to go straight to the botanical or encaustic page, and the discount is already on. So if you want to take that, it was 15th of May it finishes, so it'd be great if you get on board before that finishes, and I'll see you in the Facebook group. So thanks for watching everyone, and I will be back soon. I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.